All right, welcome back, everybody. Congratulations to Keith for winning some Win Surge vouchers there. All right, Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor here. We have been making our way around. Jody Fortson apparently carted off at Chiefs practice, so we'll have to watch that. Some sort of arm injury as he was rolled up on. A couple of tweets that have come out. First, Craig Miller, who I believe is a Dallas radio personality, tweeted that he has a Pac-12 source saying Oregon is leaving and probably to the Big 12. Nothing confirmed. Stay tuned. And then, would be a big get for the Big 12, whatever. So, again, I don't know. This is a well-placed, member of the media that's near the Big 12 headquarters that, has a lot of people following him. So just want to put out there that that's happened. And then Tommy just sent this to me during the break from somebody named Jim Williams. Now let's clarify what this is. Jim Williams, according to his bio, is a media consultant and former producer, but he's tweeting that the following schools have filed their paperwork asking now to join the Pac-12: Colorado State, San Diego State, SMU, UNLV, Tulane, USF, Memphis, Boise State, Fresno State, Tulsa, and Rice. Interesting, because a lot of those are AAC members now, some of them brand new AAC members. But this is what we mean, Tommy, and this is why, you can take it. So you've got reports saying that Oregon might be interested. We've seen that being reported for the last few days, and I don't know how much to read into any of this. What I do know is that conference realignment on social media is one of the wildest and strangest things ever, because everybody knows somebody who's heard something, right? And they sort of throw it out there. But if the Pac-12 decides to get aggressive and expand, and they then go poach a lot from the AAC and the American, which just had to reshuffle, right, from losing schools to the Big 12, that's where this stuff gets really tough when we think about Wichita State. And I do think about Wichita State all the time when we're talking about this realignment.
None of these schools that, they're being reported to filing paperwork to join the Pac-12 are major needle movers, and none of them, I don't feel like, they don't replace the schools that are leaving the Pac-12. However, there are some interesting ones in there. SMU is interesting. That's been rumored for a while. Tulane, they had a really good season last year, and that football program is on the come up. That's kind of interesting. South Florida, kind of interesting. We know about, Boise State. We know about San Diego State, like some of these other ones. None of them are major bombshells.
And look, just because they filed, it doesn't mean anything.
If they haven't
filed to join.
They haven't been invited, right? Like, they're filing paperwork.
Right.
It's not like they've been invited by the Pac-12 to join. But I wonder if the Pac-12 has to shift its mentality to more of a quantity-based conference.
Chance.
Like, let's have a bunch of teams.
Chance.
It's survive or die, right? Adapt or die.
Look, I'm gonna tell you this. The Pac-12 is not going to add Tulsa. Okay. There are some on here that would make some sense, right? Like Colorado State, maybe. San Diego State for sure. SMU for sure. UNLV for sure. And Memphis and Boise State possibly, right? But we got to remember that, the posturing of the Pac-12 forever now. The Pac-12 wouldn't take Big 12 teams looking for lifelines a while back. So are you making that dramatic a shift?
Well, times have changed. I mean,
but Tommy,
from
if the Pac-12 if Pac-12 leadership comes to the member institutions now and said, guys, we're going to be fine. We're going to add Rice and Tulane and South Florida. What do you think Oregon and Washington and Arizona are going to do? They'll be like, all right, you know what? Good luck with that. We're out. I mean, that's what they're going to do because Big 12 will take them. I don't know that. That's why I don't put a whole lot of merit into that report. Like, that's not where the Pac-12 is headed right now. They are considering expansion, right? I totally get that. But they got to start at least shooting higher than that because the Big 12 went and got really, big-time group of 5 programs. Big time. And there are some in that list. Like, there are some teams in that list that would be very much worth having if the Pac-12 can get its nose out of the air on all its political and academic whatever. Like, You go add Memphis? Heck yeah. Like there are some teams in there that would make a lot of sense, I think. But it's still not going to be better than the Big 12.
Right. I wonder if with the Pac-12, a couple of these schools that maybe they had turned their nose up in the air about, they maybe go back to with their hat in their hands, like San Diego State, maybe Memphis. I don't know.
Well, I'm looking all the way back to like Texas Tech.
Sure.
Had a rumor to want to go out there, and like some others when Texas and Oklahoma left it, they were like, "Oh no, that does not fit our profile." How's your profile look now, Pac-12? Like you're in survival mode. And if the first call you make is not to the ACC, then you're doing it wrong. The first call they should make is to the ACC and say, what can we do here? Because
can we merge?
This is going to happen to you very soon. But if I'm the ACC, man, I'm probably doing the same thing the Big 12's doing. I'm probably giving some Pac-12 schools a call and say, hey, guys, maybe we can work something out here.
The only thing about the ACC though is that, I mean, there are reports that Florida State is ready to leave the ACC. Probably Clemson, so they're not on super solid footing either right now. So they're not, I don't believe, at the same level of where the Big 12 is.
They have time on their side though, from those teams leaving.
They do, but I mean, I texted you this last night. I would not be surprised at all if when the dust settles, we see a Pac-12 ACC merger. I really think that becomes viable, right? Exactly.
A remainder of the ACC. Because, look, if the Big Ten and the SEC come calling, any of those schools are going to leave. That's just the reality of it. That's what always happens. But the Big 12 could also get in the mix there. Like, if you're creating a basketball conference and you're Duke, I mean, you answer the phone if the Big 12 calls with the brands that are in there, if they are ultimately able to add Arizona. Of course you do. So, that's what when we say domino effect of the Colorado news, when you want to talk about domino effect, it's like, we see like geopolitical situations where it just takes one tiny spark or tinder to set things on fire. It has felt like that now for 6 months in college athletics, right? And Colorado may have been that tinder, right? Because Colorado is by like nowhere near the biggest needle mover in all of this. Like not even close, right? Yeah, we all like Coach Prime, but Colorado's nostalgic for the Big 12. It gets you into the Denver market. The prospects down the road are big. It's all great. But Colorado's not, the big fish here. But are they the fish that get the big fish moving, right? Like if you believe some of these reports about Oregon, that's a big fish. That may be the biggest fish still out there for anybody. And if the Big Ten and the SEC don't want you, they don't, by all accounts. If you're Oregon and you are a national brand, if you're Oregon and the Big 12 asks you to leave right now, I don't know how you stay.
Yeah, I don't either. And I guarantee you that Brett Yormark has made that ask.
Well, now he has, yeah.
But he probably did a while ago too.
Well, sure.
But I would imagine that with the news of Colorado, and that's kind of the first domino to fall, hey, look at your conference now.
Well, look, and Oregon has never been publicly, jerky about any of this like Utah has, for instance, or at times the Arizona schools. But none of that matters, by the way. Like if they were jerks the first time you called them, now that Colorado left, you just call them right back and say, hey, guys, offer still stands. Let's let bygones be bygones. Here we go. This is wild stuff. And I think the most wild thing about it, Tommy, is how terrifying it felt, right, when Oklahoma and Texas left to where it is now for Big 12 people like us, like in this part of the world. Like that sucked. And so I feel really bad for Pac-12 fans right now because we've been there. It sucked. Like, it was not fun. And as Big 12 fans, by the way, we've been there like 4 times now, right? Yeah. You had Nebraska leave and A&M leave and Missouri leave and Colorado leave and all the – it's like, it's always felt like the Big 12 was this little brother, like not quite there with some of these other leagues. And, Larry Scott almost destroyed the Big 12 not that long ago. what was that, 13 years ago now?
Yep.
And it's like, man, that flips around and it just feels secure. And that's kind of hard to imagine if you think back to the 2021 when Texas and Oklahoma left. I would have never guessed that the Big 12 would have been able to put themselves in this position. And what were we screaming from the rooftops? Expand, 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 expand. You've got to expand. And they did. Yep. And they didn't do it with names people thought about. So maybe this list of teams for the Pac-12 is ultimately going to stabilize things if they can get, 3 or 4 of these schools in there and, just try and steady the ship a little bit and stall it out. Or I just don't know. I mean, the ACC is the answer for them right now, but I don't know what you can do. I mean, that media deal isn't up forever. And again, we keep hearing from a legal perspective, it's ironclad. Like, these schools can't get out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just always think about how resilient this Big 12 conference has always been. Going back to the days of the Big 8 and then the Big 12. And then you've got Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, A&M all leaving. And that very well could have been the death blow for the conference. And they stabilized with West Virginia and TCU. Like that's how they stable. And it's worked. It's been viable ever since. And then you would think, man, Texas and Oklahoma leaving, like, what are you going to do? Even the former commissioner, I will never forget Bob Bowlesby going in front of Congress and talking about how the Big 12 was going to lose 50% of its revenue and painted this really bleak, terrible future and outlook for the conference. Here comes Brett Yormark, and he's from day one been aggressive. I mean, this conference has been so resilient. I don't have a ton of sympathy at all for the Pac-12, and really even for the fan base of that conference, because so many people inside the conference and outside have stuck their nose up in the air regarding the Big 12. I've seen things on social media like calling the Big 12 the truck stop conference and the flyover states conference, and like no respect whatsoever. And look at us.
I take
we're
that as compliments, by the way. I think that's endearing to this part of the world.
But what I'm saying is that there's been such a shift from 2 years ago to now. It's kind of like when Texas and Oklahoma left for the SEC, and you could hear it from the West Coast to here. Like, oh, Big 12 is going to die. Like, this is not going to work. And we're great. We're the conference of champions. We're out on the West Coast and everything is great. And then UCLA and USC announced they're going to the Big 10. And then the power dynamic has shifted ever since. Brett Yormark, aggressive in getting a media deal done. Brett Yormark, aggressive in bringing in the American schools. Brett Yormark, talking about how he wants to go shopping in the Pac-12 publicly. And this was a year ago at Media Days. And it takes the Pac-12 commissioner to say, I don't know if we're open for business. Well, clearly you are, because Colorado is now gone a year later. They're coming back, and they're probably not going to be the only ones. I don't have a lot of sympathy because of the way that the Big 12 has operated the last 2 years versus the way the Pac-12 has.
It's sympathy to the fans. Look, I say this all the time. Like, social media voices are not accurate to reality. They're just the loudest and most obnoxious of society for the most part. Most people, if I went and talked to, people that I know are fans of some of these schools, they don't feel that way. They just want to watch football like the rest of us, right? They just want a good product and they want to watch it. It's people that make a living covering it that are the most afraid and the most obnoxious on social media. That's just the reality of it. So I don't think that we should ever, pretend like these people who are constantly trolling on the internet are, the accurate representation of a fan base. I think when you hear it from administrators, Tommy, it bugs me, right? Like when I hear ADs of some of these schools thumbing their nose, that bothers me.
Yeah.
But fans are going to be fans, man. And like, they're not going to care. Oregon fans aren't going to care ultimately if they're playing in the Big. Do you think Oregon fans are going to care if in November they're playing a massive game with CFP implications against TCU, or if they were playing that same game against, I don't know, USC? Like, it's real easy to let go of that stuff, I think. Conferences, these rivalries and, that stuff means something, but it doesn't mean everything. And being relevant means everything. At the end of the day, that's all we want as fans is for, what we cheer for and consume to be relevant. That's why you get so defensive when people accuse you of not being relevant. That's why K-State and KU fans get so annoyed with each other, because K-State fans feel like KU doesn't think they're relevant, so you have to put up this wall or this shield, and that KU fans are this snobby, snooty, whatever. That's just being a fan, man. It's okay. And I do want all of these schools to survive and thrive. And I hate the idea of the Big Ten and the SEC separating themselves in any way, because that's not fun. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. I don't even think fans of those schools really want that at the end of the day. I mean, you get it. The SEC plays a regular season. You already get that. We don't need more of it. It will be seismic. Here's what I'll predict to you, Tommy. The next thing that happens will be seismic. It'll be big. Colorado was meaningful and really important, but I don't think it was the big one, right? It was like one of the tremors before the big earthquake. That's still coming, and I think it's probably coming a whole lot sooner than the Pac-12 thought it would, certainly, but it could be coming real soon. If Oregon goes, oh my goodness, if Oregon goes.
I'm ready for it. Let's go. It's been what the Big 12 has been waiting for over 2 years now. And nothing against the American schools that joined. That wasn't a seismic shift. It was a good Band-Aid for the issue that the Big 12 had in place, right?
Yeah.
But I'm ready. I'm ready for a seismic shift. Let's go. The Big 12 is due. Let's make it happen.
We see them every other week. I'll tell you what I'm ready for the seismic shifting to be done for about a decade. That's what I'm ready for. But there's another one coming. 869-1240 is the number to call. We'll come back. Did you see Shohei Ohtani yesterday? Holy smokes. Maybe the Angels were on to something by not letting him go. We'll come back. More Sports Daily right after this.